Hey, lady. This is Shirita with CPR for the Soul, the space where you get small insights for that help revive the soul. And I would like to give my disclaimer first before I get started. I am not a medical, legal, or mental health professional. My content is based solely on my personal experience. So if you are seeking guidance, please reach out to a professional in the medical, legal, or mental health profession. I also further want to talk about exactly what my page is about. I was asked this question last night and I wanted to share it again. So my personal experiences, I will share my personal stories that I have of things that I have gone through in my life that directly affect me. I will always be my authentic self. I will always speak my truth. Although there may be other individuals involved, I will never share their personal story without asking them. So, and this space is also to talk more about the healing and not blaming and not banishing or bashing anybody. So I want it to be a space of, this is my story, this is how I felt, and this is what I did to get through it and what's continuing to help me get through it. Because I think mental health and your experiences is always affecting your life, and things are ever flowing in your life. I'm realizing that stuff from my childhood still affects me to this day, but it affects me differently. So I will never use anybody's personal story for this space, and I will never banish anybody. So with that being said, today I am sharing my story and my experience with being estranged from my daughter. So how am I going to start this? Okay, so I want to make this very conversational. So back in 2023, Christmas of 2023, for the first time in 10 years since my father had passed away, my mother wanted to host Christmas. Something when my kids were younger was a fun place to be at my mother's house for Christmas. And also something I remember as a kid, it being fun and cherishing those memories. So after my dad passed away, she didn't want to do Christmas anymore. So 2023, she wanted to do Christmas. So I was really excited about it. My daughter has been married 6 months when that happened. I remember reaching out to her saying, hey, grandma wants to celebrate Christmas. She's going to decorate. She's going to put up a tree. Because I remember how much she enjoyed Christmas at my mother's house. And so when I mentioned that to her, I didn't get the reaction that I was expecting. Because it has been so long, and I was excited about it, and her brother was excited. Everybody was excited that my mom wanted to do Christmas. And when I didn't get the reaction that I was expecting or hoping for, my feelings were hurt. So her and I had some exchange words on text message. So I'm going to pause right there. Never have an in-depth or deep conversation with anybody via text. Even if that's their communication style, pick up the phone or go see them in person, because text messages can be misinterpreted. You're reading it off of your feelings, how you feel in the moment, or you may be reading it based off of what you think that person may be saying. It's better to pick up the phone, hear the tone, or go see them in person. So not only you can see the tone or hear the tone, you also see body language. And with technology the way it is today, you can also FaceTime. I do not recommend having text message conversations when it comes to that's something that can really end the relationship. So anyway, we were texting back and forth. That's her communication style. She would rather text. And both of us said some things that hurt one another. And so one of the things that was mentioned in there was that I had said to her, I'm going to stop this conversation before I say something that's going to ruin the relationship. And later on in the conversation, she stated that I caused her trauma, which I was shocked about. I'm not saying that her childhood was perfect, because nobody's childhood is perfect, but I didn't realize that there was trauma. But we'll talk about that later in terms of me not realizing that there was trauma. So she stopped speaking to me. And so we went on, we had the holidays, and, between myself and her brother, and we're, him and I are talking about it. And, I did go back to her and I apologized. And I said, because you mentioned that I caused trauma in your childhood, let's do counseling. And so we agreed upon a counselor, and there was 2 sessions, and it got really heated. Again, both of us saying things to each other that hurt one another's feelings. And I remember again, and again, she did not want to talk to me. So I was really surprised. I was really shocked. I was hurt. I was mad. I was angry. But again, went back and apologized again. And I actually thought we were okay. I thought I took ownership of what, the role that I played in it. And, come to find out, it wasn't an official apology. So I went and apologized again. So I want to talk about this video, talking more about a few things. The role, we all play a role in relationships. My child is not a child. She's now an adult. Where my heart lies, and boundaries, and how I use those 4 items to kind of help me get through, or get me to a place where I'm at right now. A place where I needed to forgive myself. So fast forward, she reached out to me and told me she was having her first child, which I was very excited about, to hear that my daughter, my only daughter, was having her first child. And so that kind of mended the fence a little bit, and we were communicating. But come to find out, I was over communicating. I was reaching out too much. I was texting too much. I was calling too much, or I was wanting to know more information than she wanted to share about the baby. Asking her about her appointments, and, how were they going, and not just accepting, the one-word answers, fine, yes, everything's good. So, and part of that was because, I live in North Carolina and she lives in New Jersey, and I wanted to, feel like I was a part of it. I was there. I, wanted more than just everything's fine, wanted to know, like, how does it feel to have the baby move around? Things like that, things that a mother would want to know, or at least experience with her child, during her first pregnancy. But it wasn't communicated to me until another heated argument that I was being overbearing. So again, we had a really bad argument. Words were exchanged back and forth. And she said she didn't want to have a relationship with me. And I'm smiling about it now is because for this reason. So I'm smiling because both of my children, my son and my daughter, are born on my birthday. And it's a blessing and it's a curse. And it's a curse because they are both very much like their mother. And when they may not want to admit that, but they are both very much like their mother. So with my son, we have these very in-depth conversations, the what ifs, what would you do, conversations. And, we can have, he can share with me like things from his childhood, and he wants answers, and things that's going on in the world, he wants answers. We can do those very in-depth debates back and forth. And I walk away with it like, yo, I was just talking to myself. Like, oh my God, he's so much like me. And then it's the same with my daughter. My daughter has my attitude. again, contrary to what she believes, she probably doesn't want to admit this, but she's very much like me. And even when we were having those debates, I would get off the phone like, what the fuck? I just literally had an argument with myself. So that's where the curse lies when I say, like literally they're both born on my birthday. Two completely different personalities, but they're me. So anyway, she decided that, again, as I mentioned, does not want to have a relationship with me. And when I tell you that was the hardest thing I could have ever gone through as a mom, as a woman, as a person, to hear my child say, I don't want to have a relationship with you. The amount of crying, the amount of guilt, the amount of shoulda, coulda, wouldas that I went through, anger, hate, it was just awful. It was just a downward spiral that I would not wish this on any mother at all. Talking to, and this is where I shared in my video on social media, this is where I'm living proof that karma does exist, but I'm not saying it as a negative thing. It's a positive thing. One thing I have found out about myself, and I shared this when I talked about my brother, I have become a very introspective person. That's part of the reason why my quiet time is very important to me. When I go through things, I love to sit in the quiet and kind of replay what happened, conversations that was said, what was done, and what I could have done, because I believe that we play a role in every relationship that we are a part of. And we play a role when it's good, and we own that. We proudly own that. And we play a role when it goes bad, which we tend to not want to own. And so during this time where when she said she did not want to have a relationship with me, I had to own the bad part of what I did, instead of constantly saying, well, she should have did this, she should have said that, she should have, could have, whatever, the role that I played in it. And I can honestly say I wasn't emotionally mature because my feelings were hurt. For so many years, I just want my kids, I still do to this day, want my kids to be happy. And their happiness doesn't always align with what I envision, for them. I was the mother that gave my children the freedom to make their decisions for themselves, come to me. I'm here for guidance. And I wasn't emotionally mature enough to say, hey, I miss you. I know I'm here in North Carolina, but we can still have a relationship, and let's go about it this way. During those arguments, as I may have mentioned, she said she resented me. Now, I knew she was mad at me, but I didn't know she resented me for moving to North Carolina when she was in college. So I had to wrap my mind around that, because that's a difference. I assumed she was just mad. She'll get over it. But resentment, that's a completely different area, or a completely different way to describe me moving to North Carolina. That's something that we need to talk, needed to talk about, because I don't want my children to resent me. I want to talk through those things. Same thing with the trauma. What I may think is trauma, she may not think it's trauma, or what I don't think is trauma, she thinks is trauma. I may be over here thinking that, yes, they had a bad childhood, but not thinking that there's trauma, but she's saying that there is. And this is where I say karma comes into play for me, because I had trauma, but I'm quite sure my mom didn't think that the things that I've experienced as a kid was traumatic. So in that regard, I had to say to myself, wow, I'm over here holding trauma with my mother. She's not owning it. My daughter over here is holding trauma and I'm not owning it. So that kind of helped me say, okay, so I can't address it, but I can own the fact that there's some trauma for her that needs to be addressed, but I can only address them when it's shared with me. And when we were trying to go through counseling, neither one of us emotionally was mature enough to express it. So that's the role that I feel, part of the role that I feel that I played in it is not owning what she feels is traumatic and the resentment aspect of things, not owning that or taking responsibility in that regard. So in that area, I say to myself, if I'm ever given the opportunity, I will own the opportunity or the role for her to express to me, this was what was traumatic for me, this is my resentment, and apologize and move from there. The other thing I wanted to address is the child, and now she's an adult. So as a mom, and I did share this with her, and I will share this with any mom. When your child becomes an adult, I think we tend to still want to hold on to them being that little baby or that little adolescent or that teenager that we still need, that we still need them to want us or need us, not want us, need us. And not understanding that they will always be our children, always, but now they're adults and they have to now path their own they have to path their own way. So when I talk about the Christmas story, when I shared with her that, grandma has not wanted to do Christmas in 10 years, can you come spend Christmas with us? And I was told that, well, I spend Christmas with my in-laws now. And not realizing that, okay, she has her own traditions that she wants to do. And our traditions may not be important. This is part of her becoming an adult. This is part of her becoming a woman. And she was 6 months married at that time. So now I have to see my daughter as a woman. I have to see my daughter as a wife. And she's not my little girl anymore. It's a different type of mother-daughter dynamic. And I had the same scenario with my son. When my son was going through, wanting to be a man and paving his own way, him and I had a back and forth, and but I appreciated that he gave me the space to say, hey, Mom, it's time for me to be a man now. I'm always going to need my mom, but this is how I'm going to need you. And so he established those boundaries, and I'll talk about boundaries later. So he established, okay, it's time for me to be a man. You're always going to be my mom, but I need you as a mom differently now. Whereas I didn't have that conversation with my daughter, but I had to figure that out for myself. I had to figure out, okay, she is a woman, she's an adult, she's a wife, and now she's going to be a mother. How do I maneuver through that? And so she will forever be my daughter. I just now don't know her as a woman, a wife, and now a mother. But that's something for her to be able to want to share that with me. And that part of my healing, that I would say that was the most important, that was the most thing that played a strong part in my healing and how I feel about the situation now. And I say that she's always going to be my daughter. She's my child, and I know her as my child, but I don't know her as a woman. I don't know how she is as a wife. I don't even know how she is as a mom. So in that regard, she's a stranger to me. She's not the child that I raised. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but she's not the child that I raised. She changed. Same thing with me. I'm not the same child that my mom raised. I became a wife, mother, and a woman. So in that regard, I have to respect that. And so because I don't know that aspect of her, it makes it very easy for me to say, okay, I can still hold on to the memories of my child and be happy with those memories. And maybe one day I'll be blessed to know her as a woman and experience those things and those areas of her life. And maybe not. And I'm able to leave this earth not knowing I may never know her as a woman, wife, and mother. And I say that to go into the other area of my healing portion of it, because I know my heart. I know my heart and my morals and my values when it comes to, I did my best with what I had as a mom to raise them. Was I perfect? No, I don't. There is no such thing as a perfect mom or dad. I was not perfect. But again, the karma aspect of it, me going through this helped me to see my mother as a human being. She's not perfect. She did the best that she could with what she had at that time to raise me and my brothers. So when I sit in my quiet and when I think about all of the negative aspect that my daughter shared with me of her childhood, I'm also able to focus on the positive aspect of her childhood. And I know my heart and I know my intentions. I didn't have kids to say that I want to ruin their lives. I did the best that I could with what I had. So in that area of it, I knew my heart went into motherhood purely. And which also helps me get to this space. I did the best that I could, and it wasn't perfect, but I also know she wouldn't be the woman, the mother and wife to this day without her experiences that she has had. When it comes to boundaries, this is a really interesting one for me, because I've had so many people say, well, you should reach out to her. You should go to her house. You should do this and you should do that. But you should call her. But one thing about me, and I also know this about my daughter, when you tell me you don't want anything to do with me, I'm not going to chase you. And that's my child. I'm not going to chase you. And I also look at it too, she's a woman. She's no different than any woman on the street telling me, I don't want to have a relationship with you. Okay, I'm not going to chase you. I also learned this from a friend of mine. She had said to me, because I was good for doing that too. I was good for telling people, I don't want to have nothing to do with you. But then when I'm introspective, I'm sitting in the quiet and I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't really mean that. But sometimes you can't take back what you said. So I remember having that conversation with one of my friends, and she said, you want to be careful when you say that, because you may say it to the wrong person and will never be able to go back. And from that conversation with my friend, I'm now very picky to what I say to people. Which was the one thing I said to my daughter, I'm going to stop this conversation before I say something that we will never speak again. Because, as I mentioned, my mouth can be very, very deadly. And so when she said that to me, she said, I don't want to have a relationship with you. Okay. I'm all about relationships. So that means you don't want to talk to me. You don't want to see me. You don't want to have nothing to do with me. Okay, I'm going to respect that. And I'm finding now, with everything that's going on with estrangement, the individuals are, it's all or nothing. You know, there's so many different ways of setting boundaries. For example, my son set a boundary with me. Mom, I'm not the son that you had. I'm a man now, and this is how we have to have our relationship going forward. You know, he lives in Hawaii. I live here in North Carolina, and I still feel we have a very close relationship, but I still have to respect the boundaries of him being a man, a father, and now soon to be husband. I have to respect those boundaries. And so when I hear from my daughter, I absolutely don't want to have I don't want to have a relationship with you. Okay, that means no contact, no calling, no texting. And so people would say to me, oh, well, you should still try. You should still reach out, you know, be the bigger person. No, I want to respect her boundaries of no contact, no relationship. Because again, she is a woman that I absolutely know nothing about. And to me, that is no different than a woman on the street telling me, I don't want to have anything to do with you. I don't feel it's my job to disrespect those boundaries. I think it's respecting them. So I say all of that to say, whatever boundaries your children set for you, as hard as they may be, we still have to respect that, because they will always be our children. They'll just be our children in a different aspect, and we need to respect whatever boundaries that they set so we can still have a healthy relationship. And that healthy relationship may not continue like it was when they were children, but that relationship can continue however they choose it to be, because they do have lives of their own now. They have new traditions of their own now that they have to establish. They have families of their own. They have friends of their own. So we should be able to respect that. So I'm able to get through this and be in this space right now because she will forever be my daughter. She will forever be my child. But she's just a woman now. And I know where my heart was in going in as a mother, and I know I wasn't perfect, and I forgive myself for that I did the best that I could, and I think I did a pretty damn good job, because honestly, she wouldn't be where she's at to this day if it wasn't for me and even for her father. So I can rest my head every day, be happy knowing that I did the best that I could, and take ownership in the role that I played in the relationship being where it is right now. I can accept that. And so I say to you parents, to you mothers, that they will always be our children, and they will just trust and know that how you raise them, they're going to be good men and women. They're going to be good husband and wives if that's the role that they choose to play, and they're going to be great parents. And just know, if your heart's in the right place and you can accept the role that you played, everything's going to be good. So I welcome any comments, feedback on this video. If there's somebody you know out there who would like to reach out to me and talk a little bit more about being estranged from their child and how I continue to get through it every single day, please like, share, subscribe, comment, and I'll be more than happy to take any comments and any suggestions. So thank you so much, and have a great day.